Good to have you again on the program, The Economy Today. As always, The Economy Today is intended to help ensure that matters that have to do with economy concerning your life would be put in beautiful forms for you to be able to carry out your activities for the day. We'll look at the way it affects individuals, the way it affects the state, the way it affects our nation, and somewhat, in some occasions, the way it affects the world, because world matters, world economic matters are also part of what concerns us, because we are part of the world. Okechukwu Onubogu here, and it's a pleasure having you there. Would we go on? I expect to have my guest. He is yet to come in here. I expect to have him before the end of the program, but until then, let's just say that we'll start. We will not take any delay so as to make sure that the best comes up the way it ought to be. We will have our news beat today, and after the news beat, I'll return here and tell you a little more about some other things, then we'll get into the topic for discussion. But let me let you know that the things we need to talk about today have to do with the reforms, the central bank reforms, as well as looking at 2025, looking at the early strides of the economy, seeing what has happened, whether the early events of 2025 are showing positive or negative signs for the well-being of us all in the country. Let's take our newsbeat first of all. Naira plunges as banks resume FX sales to customers. The Naira plunged in the official foreign exchange market on Tuesday on the back of an increased demand for US dollars for payments. According to data from the FMDQ platform, the Naira depreciated by 0.31% in the official window, closing at 1,552 Naira 78 kobo per dollar. Deposit money banks informed customers in a series of emails that foreign currency sales for personal and business use have been restored. At the beginning of the week, exchange rates worsened by 2 Naira 47 kobo to close at 1,550 Naira 5 kobo in the official market. We are excited to announce the resumption of foreign currency sales for your international payments, First Bank said in an email. Similar notice was received from EcoBank Nigeria Limited, suggesting that the Central Bank of Nigeria has let local lenders off the regulatory hook. Hence, banks told customers foreign currency payments needed for personal and business travel allowance can be purchased at a rate determined by the CBN. Medical, foreign school fees, and other qualified Form A payment can also be handled across the counter, local lenders said in separate emails reviewed by Market Forces Africa. According to Channel Check, the Naira appreciated at the parallel market as banks' FX sales reduced demand pressures at the informal currency market. On Tuesday, the Naira appreciated by 5 Naira to close at 1,665 Naira in the parallel market. Consequently, the spread between the two markets narrowed. How Nigeria's $20 billion refinery disrupts European market. 2 months ago, Nigeria's beleaguered energy sector witnessed a very significant event. The Dangote oil refinery began producing gasoline and selling it domestically to Nigeria's state oil firm, Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, marking the first time in decades Africa's largest oil producer is refining its own crude. The state-of-the-art $20.5 billion refinery was launched in January 2024, but only began producing gasoline in September, expected to reach full operations in November. The giant refinery has a capacity to process 650,000 barrels of crude per day, considerably bigger than any refinery in Europe and more than enough for Nigeria's needs. To sweeten the deal further, the facility is buying crude and selling refined fuels in Nigeria in the local currency, saving the country's much-needed foreign exchange, especially the US dollar. But now, Africa's largest refinery is beginning to disrupt Europe's premium motor spirit petrol markets. According to OPEC, the Dangote refinery has cut down Nigeria's imports of petroleum products from Europe. According to experts, the Dangote refinery might end the decades-long gasoline trade from Europe to Africa, valued at $17 billion per year. The ongoing operational ramp-up efforts at Nigeria's new Dangote refinery and its gasoline petrol exports to the international market will likely weigh further on the European gasoline market. The report states, continued gasoline production in Nigeria, a country that has relied heavily on imports to meet its domestic fuel needs in the past, will most likely continue to free up gasoline volumes in international markets, which will call for new destinations and flow adjustments for the extra volumes going forward. Well, that has been it. Talking about the news beats today. I believe you enjoyed listening and getting to see what we have on the news beats. Well, it's good news for us. It's good news. 2 months ago, they started talking about the fact that this Dangote factory would the activities could affect the other countries that have been exporting fuel to Nigeria. And now it is a clear fact that it has been made sure that that is what happens. And so the OPEC has said it, that what Dangote factory has done, what Dangote refinery has done, has made it that it has affected the importation of petroleum products to Nigeria, for us to import it. Because now the country that they would always want to send things to, especially European countries who want to transport or ship their fuel to, is Nigeria, the major country. And that amounts to a whole lot of money on a yearly basis, billions of dollars. But now that Dangote has come up with this, it has helped to curb, in actual fact, bring down effectively what has to do with the money that should be paid. Number one is that Dangote refinery is producing in Nigeria and selling to the marketers in Nigeria who, before now, would have spent money in dollars to import this product. And so it is now making the importation business not effective any longer here in the country. Because what's the need going to import fuel when you have it already in your place? What in Nigerian Palace they will say, what do you have to go to Sokoto to look for what you have in your Sokoto? You don't need to go anywhere else to go and get fuel, to go and get it, since it's also here in Nigeria. Thank God also that we've been told that the NNPC Limited, I don't even know why people keep calling that thing NNPCL. It's NNPC Limited. So that NNPC Limited has also started their own, and NNPC Limited is telling us about what they do from the Port Harcourt Refinery, and we're also being told about Kaduna Refinery that will soon be on, and the second refinery in Port Harcourt. And it's all for good. So we'll talk about water refinery and all that. When these things begin to happen, definitely the problem of the dollar would be reduced, because when you buy it in Nigeria using the Nigerian money, that's the naira, to buy petroleum products, to buy crude oil, I must say thanks to the president, because when Dangote started, they sold to him at the early stage, they sold to him crude oil in dollars. But then when he shouted and talked about it and went to the president gave an order that crude oil should be sold to him in naira, since he's buying it in this country and using it in the same country. Why do you have to sell it to him in dollars? And that helped a whole lot, that he eventually started. Though, of course, at the early stage, the ones he sold first, the first set of products that he dispensed came at a higher rate because of the fact that he bought the crude oil in dollars. That was, of course, when NNPC was in charge. So that explained why the NNPC became the uptaker, the only one then, the sole uptaker. But after all that, it's been sorted out. He has started buying in Naira, and so other marketers are now free to get to Dangote Refinery to purchase their own petroleum products, their own gas, their own fuel in particular, premium motor spirit, that is the petrol, the fuel we're talking about. Now with that introduction, it made a whole lot of difference, and so it has affected the world market of crude oil, because now not crude oil rather, but the oil market of petroleum products, that is of premium motor spirit, petrol. This time, the ones selling from the European Union, all the countries that have been importing their fuels or exporting them to Nigeria, because Nigeria is the one importing, they are now looking for, or they have begun to look for other places to send their fuel, because Nigeria is no longer a market, so to say, for them, because what comes up from the Dangote Refinery is huge. It's huge. It can serve Nigeria as a whole, and even beyond Nigeria, the product of Dangote Refinery. And this way, the talk of the dollar in the purchase of these has gone down, because it is done locally and sold locally or bought locally by the manufacturer, by the marketers, so it makes it easy for them. That's one great thing that Dangote Refinery has done. 2 months ago, OPEC shouted about that, saying that, not really shouting, but they expressed the feelings they had then, that this could affect, and definitely it has affected. But it's good for Nigeria, it's good for Africa, it's also good for the Naira, that the sale of petroleum products here in Nigeria would definitely at the end of the day start coming down, because though the other day someone was saying that if you talk about selling these products, and selling it at a very low price, as our people are expecting, that it will take a whole long time to happen. That's true. And this is so because, according to them, they said that the production, the sale of crude oil is still high, even though, not minding the fact that it's being bought from Nigeria with the Naira, but then they are buying it at a rate of the dollar that you pay for it in Naira. Which is to say, if he were to buy it at 165 Naira, just as using that as an example, he will not pay 165. He will pay 165 Naira, but it's because that is the price of $1. So if he buys it for $1, he pays 165 Naira. If he buys it for 2, he pays the same thing that way, and it goes. So kind of that it's being regulated somewhat by the dollar, but the actual payment is made with the Naira. This, of course, will help to boost the quality and the strength, rather, of the Naira, because when this happens, the Naira rises, the Naira shows up, and that way it will continue. The constant use of the Naira and the constant demand of the Naira in the market will also help lift the price of the Naira, the value of the Naira as against the dollar and other international monetary systems that they have been using. So that's one thing good that the Dangote Refinery has brought forth to us in Nigeria. And it's something that we also not only say we are grateful that Dangote has done that, but we're also happy that the president did permit that the sale of these crude oil will be done in Naira. Okay, We have that as one of the things we will discuss this day, and that's why I started talking about it, because it's good to really know. The price of fuel keeps coming down gradually, and if anyone is expecting it to jump down the way it rose up, it may not happen because of these market forces I've just explained, and some of it that are still yet to be explained that are going on. Definitely the price will not just come down until other things keep coming down, then it will help the price to come down. But we expect and believe and hope that with these things that we're seeing today, that the value of the price of oil, of fuel, petrol, will come down further. It may before the end of the year come down to 700 and maybe 600 towards the very end, depending on the strength of the naira. That's why we also want to talk about the things that the central bank is doing today. There are reforms that the central bank has brought in, and so as we talk about them, we will want you to be part of it and get to understand the more these things and their ways of happening. We'll get back to that. We need to take a break right away. We'll return.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with KAFTAN TV 7 p.m. News.
Good to have you join us on KAFTAN News at 7.
Nigerians are living in 5%. Are young people. We propose the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on KAFTAN TV News at 7.
What we found that the 10 naira is not actually sufficient.
National, foreign news headlines. Get balanced, accurate facts on the latest news in business, politics, entertainment, sports, and more. Live from our studios.
Many thanks for watching, and join us again at 9
KAFTAN
p.m.
TV News.
Being there for us, and we'll go on the program, and we're talking about the recent things that have been happening in our country as far as the finances are concerned. And one of those things we want to talk about, apart from the fact that I've just mentioned what has to do with Dangote and then the refinery and all that, I also want to say that we have recent reforms in the Central Bank of Nigeria, that is CBN recent reforms. We'll look at that. We'll look at the CBN reforms and to see the impact on the economy of the land. And so, looking at these reforms, the Central Bank of Nigeria really introduced several recent reforms aimed at strengthening the country's financial system and promoting economic growth. There are certain things that they did. One of it is the foreign exchange market reforms. The foreign exchange market reforms was aimed at helping to improve the foreign exchange market, and there has been the prohibition of dollar-denominated collateral for naira loans. You know, before now, there are certain loans that some people want to go and get in the bank. They will be told to bring collaterals, and then the collaterals, financially speaking, will have to be based on with the dollar. But now the central bank has said no, it shouldn't be so. Since it's happening here in the country, let it all go, let it be done in naira. Though there are some exceptions anyway, but the majority of it is done in naira. And I believe when there is an exception, it is then there may be the things that are required more. And so when you get the dollar, it helps to bring it down slightly. That's why sometimes they use that. But mainly it's no longer the way it used to be, because before the reforms it was all dollar denominated handling. That is no longer what happens now. There is also this discontinuation of limit on interbank FX transactions. Before there used to be a limit, but now there has been removed. The limit has been removed or discontinued. That it is easy for them now to do what they want to do. He has removed that the 2.5% cap spread on interbank FX transactions, allowing faster and more efficient foreign exchange transfers. It's no longer just at 2.5%. They can go higher and go on with what they are doing. That is one thing that the central bank has also done. So it makes it easier for someone that wants to do that transaction, the banks rather, because it's interbank. The banks that want to do this exchange from one bank to the other, it makes it easier for them. But if when it was 2.5, you do a bit and stop, wait for another time to do another, so as not to go beyond that percentage. But now they can do all within a day and the transaction goes on. That is for some of the reforms that the central bank has brought in most recent times. There is also the recapitalization policy. It has also introduced this one as a policy to help strengthen the banking sector in general. There is the increased minimum capital requirements. The CBN has increased the minimum capital requirement for commercial banks and merchant banks and non-interest banks. It's no longer just what it was. They have increased it quite a lot. There is also another option, that is option for meeting new minimum capital requirements. Banks can meet the new minimum capital requirements through fresh equity injection, mergers and acquisition, or even upgrade or downgrade of license authorization. So it's no longer just what it used to be. There are options now for them to meet their minimum capital requirements. And if a bank feels it has enough strength now that it can go further, it can increase its minimum capital requirements. And if it feels that, what I am carrying is too much for me right now, they bring it down and then reduce the requirements. But before now, it was something that you don't check, you don't change, you don't check, it remains constant. And then there is also the timeline for compliance. Banks have 24 months to comply with the new minimum capital requirements that started from April 1, 2024 to March 31, 2026. So within a year you have to do all that requires for the compliance that is required for it to. Then we look at the CBN's recapitalization policy. That policy is aimed at strengthening the banking sector by increasing the minimum capital requirements for commercial, merchant and non-interest banks. This move is expected to enhance the stability and capacity of the banking industry, attracting greater investments to the sector. There are key components of the recapitalization policy, and one of it is increased minimum capital requirements, which I mentioned a bit. I want to talk about the amounts involved. The requirement for banks ranging from 50 billion, that's what has been increased, from 50 billion for regional banks and 500 billion for international commercial banks. It's been raised so as to help them. The policy it has this one new, and it will help the banks to carry out their operations on a free flow transaction, especially when they do interbank transfers. So this is one major thing that the central bank has brought forth in its new policy that is also working for everything that has to do with the economy. The other one is the option for meeting new requirements. The banks can meet the new minimum capital requirements through other means like fresh equity injection, as I mentioned earlier. They will inject one system or the other, one equity that will help them raise funds so as to increase what they need. They inject this equity, raising additional capital, and that way it will help them do something better. They will have private placement right issues or public offer. They do this. When these public offers are done, they will raise their share capital, they will raise the things they want to do with money, and more money gets to be in their kitty with which they will be able to carry out their activities effectively. They talked about mergers and acquisitions. Yes, mergers. Continue with other banks and or financial institutions to increase capital. So it's not just only one. They could join with other banks to carry out these activities so as to help them run their affairs the right way. And I mentioned earlier there is this timeline, the timeline for compliance is a year now. It's 24 months now. That is 2 years for them to do the compliance that is required. So it's okay. Their work will be better definitely, and they will grow better. Talking about the capital, that the eligible capital, the policy specifies that only paid up capital and share premium will be considered as eligible capital for meeting the new minimum capital requirements. This recapitalization policy is expected to improve the resilience of Nigerian banks. Remember many years ago when this kind of thing happened, that was under Professor Charles Soludo. The resilience of Nigerian bank was so thin. I don't think it could happen to any of Nigerian banks, and that will be the end. And not only the end for the bank, but for especially the people who are the customers of the bank, people who have brought in money, put their money in those banks, and they will lose. Thank God for NDIC that has come in, but even this new policy of the CBN would also help them more, because that will mean that no matter what happens to any bank, what you have there is still what you have. It cannot just go like that. It will not go like that. So at the time of Professor Charles Soludo, he made us move up from where we were. That was why many banks were closed then, and many measures happened then, and banks that were weak banks, if you like. In fact, all Nigerian banks were really weak. Even First Bank, that was the strongest then, was also weak compared with what we have seen eventually. Because talking about that someone will have 500,000, someone would have a 5 million, he will go for a bank, he wants to start a bank. But it moved, of course, not just 5 million, 10 million, 200 million, but 250 million at least. Then, of course, when he moved them over to 500 million in their kitty to ensure that there is good money you have, so as to be able to carry out the work you're doing. This happened, and Nigeria has become so much better for it. But remember this last thing that happened over the end of the year matter, when some 9 banks were surcharged, and they were paying 150 million naira for causing customers very, very painful situation. We'll talk about that. It's a good thing that happened really. But I just want to say that I'll just take a little break again. Then I'll get in my in-house member to join me taking a bit of this. Then before we conclude for the program, we'll be back.
In the beginning, God created a beautiful world.
3, 2, 1. Action.
And that's why, at KAFTAN Television,
We imagine a beautiful world.
We are not just bragging.
We blaze the trail in broadcasting. And it is about you.
At KAFTAN TV, broadcasting is not just about information, education, and entertainment.
It's an aggregation of all you need to know in Nigeria
and around the world to create signal.
At KAFTAN Television, we have all it takes to be on top in broadcasting.
Our mission is simple: to project Africa in a truthful yet positive manner.
Wait, we're coming to you in style.
Here we are, starting from September.
Look at what the facts are.
And as you say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with KAFTAN TV 7 p.m. News.
Good to have you join us on KAFTAN News at 7.
Nigerians are living in Africa. 5% are young people. We broadcast the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on KAFTAN TV News.
Thanks for still being there. We'll look at the second point I have for today. We have for today, and that's talking about the economic trends, 2025 early economic trends in Nigeria. We want to look at those 2025, the early economic trends we're seeing even this year, 2025. Whether they are positive or negative, we'll look and see and find out about some of them. And looking at that, there are economic trends, definitely. Nigeria's economic trends have been shaped by various factors, including world government politics, global events, and even internal challenges that we have here in our country. We'll just look at some of these trends and policies that have helped us. Looking at one of the positive, on the positive side, the positive trends, there is improved economic outlook. There is improved economic outlook in the things we're looking at in the trends in our country. Nigeria's short-term economic outlook started improving a little bit towards the end of last year, with prospects for continued growth and macroeconomic stability due to the increased revenues that we started seeing, the stable foreign exchange reserves that we talked about that got up to 40, and an augmented fiscal reserve fund that we have also seen in the country. These somehow helped. On another edition of our program mentioned that it is true, quite all right, that this money, especially talking about the foreign reserve, that is growing, that has even got to, when it got to 40 billion and all that, you see that it's that foreign reserve. Some people have asked me the question, when this foreign reserve is growing, does it mean that the economy of the land is growing? I have two things to say. One is that somehow it will help the economy to grow. As the reserves are growing, it will help the foreigners who, before they come into your country, will want to check your foreign reserve to know what it is like before they'll be able to come in to make investments in your country. That's it. DFIs, that is direct foreign investments. The direct foreign investors, before they come into your country to do anything, they want to check what you have in your reserve. If it is what will help, so that whenever there is any problem that will come up, that this country can handle it. If not, they will not come. So this is what that thing has helped. When it goes that way, then they will say, okay, maybe there is hope in Nigeria, let's go. And most of the time, you find them coming in, and they come in to do business. And when they come in to do business, they are coming in and bringing their money to you to do business with you. It's true that at the end of the day, when after every business that they need to do some remittances, even now, because of the new policy of tax that we're talking about in the country, very soon, the people from other countries, that's expatriates that are coming here to do businesses, by the time they'll be going, the remittances will be limited. It's no longer going to be the way it used to be, because with the new tax regime, there is something that is there that you see that will help the country know that there are some amounts of money that should be kept within the country and not allowed to be remitted. Before now, it wasn't so. All was being remitted and Nigeria was suffering for it. But with that new tax policy, when it comes into effect, it will help to see that these remittances will not just go the way they used to go. That's one beautiful thing about it, that even if you want to remit money to your country, it will be taxed as well. It's not just as it used to be. It's no longer going to be business as usual. That's one beautiful thing about this new tax regime, that I keep praying that they will let it breathe, because it will help Nigeria a whole lot. It will help, of course, the business fellows, people who have little money to do business, people who have less than, whose gain, whose benefit, whose profit will be less than 800,000 per annum. They will be able to do their businesses without being disturbed. The small-scale business persons are being helped with these things that will begin to happen. These are the trends we are looking at in this 2025. With this coming in, the small-scale business fellows whose annual income will be 800,000 and less. You find out that when it happens, they will do their businesses tax-free. Nobody will disturb about paying taxes the way we've been seeing it before now. These are the things that this can do for our country, the economic trends, the way they are going. Again, the ones that are paying the company tax, the corporate tax, company tax or corporate tax, anyone you call it, is still the same. You find out that the things that they have done with these taxes will help them be comfortable to do their businesses, and so they'll be willing to pay their taxes without any problem. Secondly, we know quite all right that the infrastructural development would also go a long way in helping businesses to grow. Like recently, we've been seeing some new roads that are being constructed within the FCT, and so the people who are the farmers that are inside those localities can now bring their product out for others to see. And even when they can't bring it, people can easily drive towards their places and be able to transact with them and buy those products and bring out for others to buy, and it will help reduce the pains of the ordinary consumer in the country. So these are some good economic trends, the positive economic trends that we're seeing in the early part of this 2025, and we believe, because of course it started last year end, so we're hoping it will continue that way. With these, the things that we have to do with the money that flowing and the products, goods and services flowing will be better. The vehicles that will carry these products will go for less servicing because the rates are in order. So, and as a result of that, they will pay less. Apart from the fact that the cost of fuel is still too high, it will be the only thing that they'll be suffering, not the problem of wear and tear of their vehicles because of the bad or dilapidated roads we have had in the country. But with these new ones coming in, it will make it easy for them to help the local producers of the products we are talking about, then to bring their products to the consumer. The final consumer, of course, is the one that buys it from the market, and so it helps. So there is something good that we have seen coming with the new trend. That is the early economic trend that we're seeing in this year 2025. There is also reduced poverty rate. Poverty rates in Nigeria may be lower than previously estimated, with a reassessment suggesting a decline in poverty levels, although there is still a significant divide between the southern and northern regions. There should be anyway, but with all that is going on yet again with the tax system, it will help. Because why I keep harping on this new tax regime is that this new tax regime would also handle this matter very well, the reduced rate of poverty. Because when it happens, there is a challenge that will come to every state to begin to produce their own goods in industrial manner, so that level, so that it can go. They can export from state A to state B, because there are certain products that are happening. Let me talk about ginger. Ginger, we know, is highly produced in the north. And we'll find some of it in Kaduna State. take for example, and some other states all around it, they have ginger, Katsina, all of them, they have ginger very well. And all these states can work and get companies that can help bring out something else from ginger, not just only the marketing. Right now, the production of ginger is Nigeria's own ginger I'm talking about. The Nigeria's ginger is in high demand in the world market. And so most of the time, they produce these and just hardly package and send out. But when we have factories that will be here in Nigeria to do the work of extracting some other things from the raw ginger, it will help. We have seen ginger tea, but do you know that ginseng ginger tea you have been taking is foreign? But because the people come and carry your ginger and go to their country, just as we are talking about crude oil. That's what has happened with everything that we're producing in this country. Crude oil, they take it from us and take it outside and go and produce and bring petrol for us, which has become a thing of the past because of Dangote. Glory be to God. Again, there is this ginger that I'm talking about. They take it out and do whatever they want to do with it and return to you, and we buy. It's the same thing with cocoa production. It's good that they've started talking about cocoa production, that right now cocoa production is on the very high level as far as that production is concerned in this country. And one thing good about it is that it's about the best also. I don't know why it is so. I think it's God. All the products that are Nigeria's products, when you take them out, they are about the best on demand. The people will look for these ones because they give them the best quality. But because of things that are happening in our country, people are missing it and not getting the right thing done. If a state starts producing ginger effectively and looking for people that will come to buy and to process this ginger in their state, they will do a lot with it and export and to other states. I'm not talking about outside the country. And they will get their tax. When they will get their VAT, and they are the ones that will take the 60% that the state governors have asked for. They are the ones that will take it before the others that others will be sharing. There is also the share on geographical size and all that. There is 20%. All these are the things that can help. So when it happens, a lot will happen for the country. These are positive economic trends. Take again, for example, the one we talked about, cocoa just now. Cocoa, when you finish cocoa and get out the raw product, there are many things that will come from it. The beverages that we take will come from it. The chocolate bars we eat will come from it, and a lot more. Talk about milk. When you take good care of the cattle is fed well, kept well in ranches, and they are well taken care of. A lot more will come from it because there will be milk that will come from it, there will be yogurt that will come from it, there will be cheese that will come from it, and there will be, of course, the beef that will come from it. A lot will come from such things. So when we do these things, in this new year, talking about 2025, these are the things that each state will begin to work on, each region will begin to work on to get out their products effectively so as to help lift the quality of what comes out from their place. And of course, they will reap from it because when the VAT comes, they will take majority of the money that comes from it. We have other things. I have always talked about the highland tea that comes from Zamfara State or somewhere there, and other things like that. There are many things. What about the oil, the palm oil and all that will come from the southeast? There are many beautiful things that will come from there. What about the cashew that comes from Benue, it's Kogi rather, that comes from Kogi, and a bit of it from Enugu State? We find these are things that when we get to have them, so many beautiful things will come. But first, the government should look into it and help in any way they can. Help the small-scale industrialists so that they can continue to do this. And now that there will be less VAT for them, no VAT for them in actual fact, it will help them do more and produce more, and there will be money in the pockets of Nigerians. And that way, the Naira's value will get better and it will increase. These are the things we need to talk about when you look at the early economic trends we are seeing in 2025. There is economic reforms. The current administration has introduced those market reforms, including bold market reforms, including the elimination of petrol subsidies and the unified exchange rate, and aimed at promoting economic growth and stability. These are some of the things that this current government is doing. I'm not singing the praise of the current government for nothing. I'm saying what I have seen. The things that we have seen on economic terms that can help, we praise. The ones that will not help us, we condemn. That's what we have come to do. That's what our work is. And that's why I want to talk about some negative trends now. There are negative trends. High inflation. Inflation remains a significant challenge with the large devaluation of the naira in the early February of 2024. It's still affecting us. It's expected to boost inflation further, even in this year that we are in. But when these other ones that are the positive things we have mentioned begin to happen, it will help to hold it, that the inflationary level will be brought down. There is economic growth below potential. Economic growth below potential. The economic growth is expected to remain below potential, even with some uplift of the medium term due to various challenges, including infrastructure gaps and insecurity. Especially insecurity. The infrastructure gap I've earlier mentioned, as we're seeing some of it happening, that the roads are being put in order to help some of these locally produced goods, where the farmers are, where the agriculturists are. You get the goods from them and bring them out. If we don't have good infrastructure, it will not work. Another negative trend is that we see that even in that one, that we don't have many of the storage facilities that we've been talking about. We don't have much of it around. That's why there is still waste of products. Look at tomato now. We have tomatoes going on right now in the country. The price of tomato has come down very well and is good. Go back in the next 2 months to look for tomatoes, and you see how high, or in the next 3 months, you see how high it will go. But if we had good and strong, positive storage facilities in the country, that will help, that all these things will be taken care of. So these are some negative trends that we are seeing. May the government wake up and help to provide, even in consonance with the private sector, to provide such products, such things that have to do with storage facilities, so that works can become positive. Let's not see waste, but rather let's see the works that are going on to help that the products will be there all year round, because of the fact that there is a good storage facility, or there are good storage facilities in the country. We also need to talk about the fact that dependence on oil is still happening. Nigeria's economy remains heavily dependent on oil, making it vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices and output. Why should it remain so? As I said the other time, that the minister for blue economy was saying something that it will take the next 5 years before we start making 30% from the blue economy. And I've said it several times. That 30% can come from this year, from that blue economy. Whatever it is that has made our minister to say so, I pray that he will change that thing and return to the right thing. The right thing is that the blue economy can bring in 30% into what we have in our country, even starting from this year. Why do we need to go to Thailand to get stockfish? Why do we need to go to Thailand to get fish, even apart from stockfish? What about the canned beef, canned fish that we are getting to have, that is called sardines and all that? We have the things that we can use to do all those things in our country, but we don't have the companies that will help us do it. So let them begin to look, let the Minister for Blue Economy look for companies abroad, bring them in here to come and work and do those things that will make our people import those things. Let them get them here done in the country. This is an economic negative trend, and they need to change it, alter it, so that the economy will be made better the way it ought to be. That's just another. There are many others, but then of course I will need to start running up because my time is getting up. I also want to say the insecurity and the infrastructure gaps. Insecurity, of course, we have talked about it a long time. That's why I talk less about it on this program. But then it's still important. When there is effective security, and I hope that the new green project from the government will start working, where the government has started to train many young people, many youths, and provide the land for them so that they will start agriculture, mechanized agriculture. That way we'll be sure that it will lift the economy. And if security is not provided, it will be a waste. And if we still allow our herdsmen to carry their cattle all around, they will still go to those farms and destroy the products that we have in the farms. So the earlier we started avoiding or speaking against herding and start talking about ranching, the better for the country, because that way all that has been produced will be able to, all that has been planted will be able to be allowed to come forth and to be sold. Then security is important. Let their lives be secured. People should not be killed in their farmlands by herders. People should not be killed in the farmlands by stolen from their farmlands by what do you call them now, by kidnappers and all. Well, that is on that note of negative economic trends that we also round off on the program today. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for watching. Well, my guest could make it this day, but I believe that by Friday I'll be able to bring him here to be part of what has happened, what we will still talk about on the program. Thank you for watching, and I must say that it's a pleasure having you. Let me not forget to say thank you to Victor Chiza and of course Yira Bugwara. Thank you so much for being there for me. I'm grateful. Thank you, everybody, and of course, Mickey, thank you. Not forgetting Pambi Larry, of course, the man that has got me on for you to see me in the first place. Thank you so much, Kayode. I am Okechukwu Onubogu. May the best come to us all the time.